Hey guys, it's Carlos from the We're Just Fans podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight. We got our co-host Poppy in the house. Let them know what's up, Poppy.
Hey, what's good, everybody? How's it going?
All right,
Todo
all
bien, todo
right.
bien.
Then going in, yeah. And then we got Rios. Let them know what's up, Rios.
How's it going? Hopefully everyone wasn't too affected by the little tornado watch today. Cause I was freaking out. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Were you actually?
Really?
Yeah,
That
'cause
bad?
I work at a dealership and I'm sitting in the front and there's glass windows everywhere and stuff was
Oh
hitting
no.
us. And our little
Oh,
Don't be a baby.
don't be a baby, dude. And of course, today we got a special guest. We got Seth Payne from Sports Radio 610. Let them know what's up, Seth. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Yeah, the tornado was a little freaky today too. I wasn't anywhere near it, but it was just. I walked out of. I was getting ready for the Houston Sports Awards at Wortham Theater and Wortham Center, and I walked out. It was like 1:30, and it might as well have been 9 p.m. It was crazy.
I
It was
know.
dark. It was all dark outside.
I was loving
looking-
it, dude. I was loving
I
it.
was not. I was fearing for my life.
So Rios is a car salesman, and so there's like you said, he's windows everywhere. So
Front, so I was the first line of defense.
yeah, you just get in front of everybody. Yeah,
I had to
and
go.
Whatever.
yeah, you would be the first one running out the
I'll
building.
be in the back. I'll be in the back. I get inside the heaviest car there is. I'll just get inside of him. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, man, it was crazy today here in Houston with the weather, man, and a lot of flooding, a lot of street flooding, but it's crazy. I work at a school, so like all around the school in the Maryland area, it's like filled with like flooding. Everything floods around there, so it was crazy.
Yeah.
So that's like 610, BeachNet area. That it just gets really bad out
Yeah,
there.
because it's sunk there over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
Subsidence, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Seth. So let's talk about you for a little bit, man. I'm excited. We're excited to have you on the show. Are you familiar with Brett Chansey from Lockdown Astros?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he's the one that he's like, hey, you should have Seth Payne on the show one day. He has some really good takes, and I've heard your show, in the mornings. It's been my morning show to go to work for like years, and so I'm a big fan of the show. So again, I'm like really happy to have you on today. So you were with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're the team that drafted you, right? How did you? I heard you share a story. I think it was at the beginning of this week. How you ended up? My camera's slower now. Just see that. How you ended up going to the Texans? You were signing a check or something like that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
what
I
happened?
was actually because we were talking about how you find out news like that. I can remember. Oh, why? That was because John Wall had found
Yeah.
out about the trade rumors because RG3 had texted him. That's how
Correct.
John Wall found out about the fact
Right.
that he might be moving. And I found out that I was up for the expansion draft by a phone call from Tom Coughlin, but it was like as I was writing the final check for a pool that I had just had put in at my house. And it's like the one thing, like if you don't get any value back on a pool. It was just like you don't increase the value of your home at all with the pool. So I honestly might have been a little rude to Coughlin just because I was so pissed off at the financial implications of it. I was like, however much I just spent on this pool, it was just totally not worth it. It helped it sell faster, I guess, but yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's gotta be insane. So how did you like as a player, like how did you feel coming into like a brand new team that nobody had ever heard of? There was no history. Like how was that? Like what was going through your mind when that happened?
It was really cool because, for one, Jacksonville is a small city. It's one of the smallest markets in the NFL. So when I first showed up to Houston, I'd never lived in a city that's this size. I'd never, played football in Texas, and we kind of got a sense for it right from the beginning because the expansion draft they held it at the convention center, but they set it up like it was Madison Square Garden, like it was the actual draft, and it was kind of cool because it was like one of those things where you realize, oh, this whole thing about things being bigger in Texas is actually true. Like they really they went all out in so many areas where it just didn't seem like that would be the typical thing to do.
Right.
And then as far as just being on a new team, it was fun because obviously the expectations were low at first, and you just constantly had that chip on your shoulder because you knew that people weren't going to take you seriously because you're an expansion team. But it was kind of, every other time I've ever been on a team that had a losing record, it was a huge disappointment. And you were, it was the worst thing in the world, where that first season, it felt like every time you won a game, it was like, okay, all right, we're doing something right. We're let's build on this thing. So that part was really cool.
That's awesome. Oh man, it's always good to hear.
What I want to know is, like, because you're just one of many guys going through the same thing. Everybody's getting drafted to this new expansion team. How was the locker room when you get there? So that situation.
That was another thing that was cool too, because they, the way they changed it with the expansion draft over the years, they made it easier for you to get actual veteran players, like quality starters on the team. So they didn't want teams to have to suffer through so many years of just, 1 and 2 win football seasons. So on the defensive side, we had a lot of veterans. We had a lot of good players. Aaron Glenn and Marcus Coleman came from the Jets, and Gary Walker was very good, and Jamie Sharper, and a lot of good defensive players. And that was another part where they started 6 rookies on offense, and it was kind of on us on defense to set a tone and set an example for the team. And that was another nice part of it, was we had, with Dom Capers as the coach, I think he really trusted the veterans to be the leaders and to try to set an example. And it's, obviously didn't work out as well over the next several years. Right. But that part was, I felt like there was kind of a, hey, we're all in this together environment between the rookies,
right,
the veteran players, and then you do have it's an expansion team, so you do have a lot of journeyman guys that are just like trying to prove it and maybe have bounced around a little bit. Corey Sears was a defensive lineman who had been out of football for a couple years. He went to like an open tryout, a kind of quasi-open tryout for the Texans, and just like broke 3 blocking sleds or something.
Wow.
And just kind of impressed. So he was like this guy that was just 100 miles an hour all the time. So we had a lot of guys like that, so that part was cool.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I can imagine.
Yeah, Corey is this. He grew up in San Antonio and went to Ole Miss, I think. But he was like, so he'd been out of the league, but he was totally all about football. He had a blocking sled in his backyard. One of the kinds that's like sunk in concrete, and you hit it and lift it up. Mm-hmm. So he just developed. It was almost like a heavyweight fighter that's got one really good punch. Him coming off the ball.
That's all you need,
man. He would knock dudes out, just firing out of his stance. And overcome a lot of other stuff. So there were a lot of guys like that. That was almost like out of a movie, out of The Replacements or something, where there's just this dude that had been practicing in his backyard, all of a sudden is back on an NFL team.
Has one last shot at redemption or whatever, and just kind of does it. Yeah.
He went to Mississippi State. Yeah.
Mississippi. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rios, you got some?
Yeah, I got a question. Cool. During that first season, what was one of your favorite memories from the inaugural season?
The one that people always talk about is the Denver game, because the Dallas game, the first game of the season. So that was obviously a huge upset. But the one that was really special that year, I thought, was beating the Steelers up in Pittsburgh, because it was a complete and total defensive effort. And there was the other one too. Oh, the Giants game. The Giants game was fun just because I remember I had a friend that was a Giants fan and lives up 10 minutes away from the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and he just he sent me the actual paper. I want to say I can't remember which post. It was one of the New York Post or something. But the entire sports page just said shame on the front of it, because it was that was the best thing that year, was that every game we won, it was I can't believe you lost the expansion team, and it ruined that team's season. It got coaches fired. That part was fun.
Wow.
Jeez, that you
getting people fired, man. We love that. We love that.
Love that. Oh my goodness. So I've been hearing a lot of your takes on sports radio, and because we're going through this whole coach search here for the Texans. Now, what would you say is your top pick if you personally, I guess, for coaching the Texans?
My top 3 right now are DeMeco at the top, And then Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles coordinators, are tied for second and third. And with DeMeco, I really like the way I always look at head coaches is I completely and totally understand the appeal of going for an offensive coordinator, especially if you're likely going to have a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback. But I think that a lot of times people who limit their choices to just that end up forcing a choice and getting an offensive coordinator who might be good in the short term or might install an offense, but ultimately isn't the guy you need long term. And with DeMeco, I try to be as impartial as I can because I know DeMeco. He was a rookie when I was in my final season in the NFL, and I was very, very impressed as an older player with just how smart and mature DeMeco was. But I try to, pull that back and, use that because I know him and I know how guys felt about him as a player. But also then just, aside from any coordinator qualities, because all three of those coordinators are very, very good. Like those are the top two defenses in the league in a lot of respects, top offense in the league. So you got three good coordinators. And they've got good talent to work with and all that. But I always feel like you should hire the best leader first and foremost, as long as he's also got a good football brain. Right. And then if you've got a tie between two candidates, like if it was between Steichen and Gannon for me, I would go with Steichen because he's the offensive coordinator. Right. But I do think that just with the way people talk about DeMeco, what I know of DeMeco is that he's an incredible natural leader who actually also works at honing his leadership skills. But B, and this is the key, I do think he's spent, half of his professional career as a player and as a coach now working with somebody from the Kubiak-Shanahan tree, practicing against that offense, scheming against that offense in training camp practices. Matt Schaub said that DeMeco was just constantly always quizzing him about why they make certain checks and why they do what they do. And I think that if you're going to have a defensive coach, he's got to be able to identify and help cultivate offensive coordinators. I think DeMeco's got a leg up in that department. And theoretically maybe has like a little bit of an edge on knowing who the intellectual pipeline is in the Kubiak-Shanahan tree between McVay and all those guys to kind of get the scuttlebutt of who those guys are. So DeMeco is my guy for those reasons. And I also, I think because everything is weighted so heavily towards hiring offensive coordinators, I think there's a little bit of an inefficiency where some potentially very quality head coaches who are defensive-minded guys don't get as much of a shot. If you look at the 5 of the 6 longest tenured NFL coaches right now are all defensive or special teams coordinators. Like they're not. So there's got to be something to be said for like, all right, the teams that decide like, hey, we're going to roll with Tomlin, or we're going to roll with John Harbaugh, special teams guy, Belichick, obviously. If we're going to roll with those guys, that maybe there's a better tendency if you hit the right guy that he's going to stick.
Well, I feel like for a lot of that, right? If you do pick up defensive coordinator, somebody who's going to probably work out in the long term, that means you have to give them the time. And I feel like a lot of franchises, after 1 or 2 bad seasons where like maybe the defense was solid but we couldn't put points on the board, they just give up on that. So as the Texans organization where we're sitting at right now, do you think we should just try to go on that route, or do you think we should just focus on offense at the moment?
I think there's another aspect where I think DeMeco is an advantage is that like obviously the Texans have a bad reputation right now for firing coaches, and I don't think that's as much of a barrier to actually hiring a coach as it might seem. Just because no quality head coach candidate thinks that he's going to be the guy that's going to come in and only win 2 games. So I think that I don't think that's as much of a barrier. But I do think that with DeMeco, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, I think he would get more leeway and like more of a grace period from the fans. And I think they would tend to be a little bit more patient and say, okay, well, and part of that is also not just their relationship with him, but just the way he handles the media, and kind of his demeanor and his patience about things like that. So that part could be a check in his favor. I do think that all 3 of those guys they're not O'Brien. They're not like abrasive personalities. There was something about O'Brien that just did not match with
There were a couple
not at all.
There were a couple of things.
Yeah.
It's like he couldn't get used to it or something. Like a lot of it, every post conference he had, he looked like he just was tired. He was just done with being here. He was like, yes, I remember like answering John McClane's questions sometimes, like, yes, John, like he would give you like that whole like, I'm just tired of, I don't want to be here anymore kind of thing.
He had it out for those two guys.
He was and the stories you hear from the building too. NFL organizations are funny because I think for one, coaches operate in okay. I grew up in a farming family, like dairy farming, which is like the worst kind of farming. It's as far as like as far as quality of life, it's because you like beef cattle, you can kind of feed them and then leave them alone. Or crop farming, you've got seasons and everything. Dairy, it's just 2 or 3 times a day, every day, 365 days a year. So like, I grew up in a family like where everybody was constantly sleep deprived all the time, and I know the signs. And when you look at NFL teams, the guys have just bags in their eyes at the end of the season, and O'Brien was one of those guys too, where everybody's miserable by the end of the year. And I do like Belichick. I know Belichick will tell his guys when they're looking at which team they're going to coach, that you got to be the right match for the city too. You got to evaluate the owner, but you got to be the right match for the city. And I really think O'Brien is so Massachusetts. He's so Northeast. And it's like, because I know, like, I'm from the Northeast, and I had to adapt and change living in Jacksonville for 5 years and then coming to Houston. It's just things are different. Not better up there or worse up there or anything. It's just you got to adapt to it a little bit. And like I've had more time to adapt. O'Brien's a football coach. He's working all the time.
Yeah, it was a lot of the things that I just remember seeing his post conferences. I just like now that you paint that picture in my head, I'm gonna be looking at like later on and be like, is either this guy's a dairy farmer or he's just tired of being at the city. Like I'm gonna be looking at that now. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, man.
Okay, so say we do go DeMeco, who would be your top picks for offensive coordinator? Because
honestly, I'm a blank slate when it comes to that, because it's like there's a pool of guys, whether they're quarterback coaches or receivers coaches, that you just never quite know until you see them, what exactly they're going to bring to the table. It is, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm nervous about that part of it, like the young defensive coach having an offensive coordinator. I know people have mentioned Clint Kubiak. I'm not opposed to that. I guess then I start to worry, like, oh, wait a second, are we going too far down the road of just like bring back something from I don't know, like people have said that's nostalgic. I don't know, like I feel like we're shooting higher than divisional round loss. So I don't know if we're trying to be nostalgic for 2011. It was awesome when they started playing well and it felt like a real football team. But I guess the other side of it too is for a defensive coordinator, you look at Vrabel. Vrabel went into Tennessee and he hired a veteran defensive coordinator, an older guy. And I can't remember if he still had Dick LeBeau for a year, if he started off with Dean Pease.
I think he might have started with Dean, if I'm not. Okay. I might be wrong though too, but now
he transitioned to Dick LeBeau after that, I believe. After like a year or two, somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah. So but like he was a defensive coach, but wasn't. He was humble enough to get an older guy to be his defensive coordinator. And then likewise, I think for DeMeco, whether he does that or not, I really would like him to. It would be ideal if you could find an older guy. And that is the tricky thing is, okay, you start looking down the road, and Tomlin these last couple years hasn't done as good a job. He hasn't done as good a job, but he's also dealing with an aging Ben Roethlisberger and a rookie this year. Right. But it was, obviously when Bruce Arians was with Ben Roethlisberger, he had a veteran offensive coordinator who wasn't thought of as a head coaching candidate, which was a nice fit to have for a while, So you've got a veteran offensive coordinator that you don't have to worry about getting plucked away from you. You can get some stability that way.
Okay.
Let me ask you something. So for weeks, months, it feels like we've been talking about how the Texans need a quarterback, right? That's like the not the only missing piece, but one of the biggest pieces that we need in order to move this franchise forward. And do you think DeMeco, if he does get the job, right? Let's say he lands the spot. Do you think he's going to be able to gel well with somebody like Stroud? Hopefully, Bryce Young. We still don't know. Like, how do you think that him as a coach is going to be able to develop somebody like a quarterback, like offensively?
Yeah, that's I was thinking about that actually today because I was thinking about Belichick and his relationship with Brady, where they would have their weekly meetings, and Belichick wasn't in the quarterback's room or anything, but he obviously had a very good relationship with Tom Brady. But he was still, in a lot of ways, very much a defensive coach. He didn't, he still doesn't. I don't think you maybe realized until this year that it's really hard to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. But you can't just stick Matt Patricia there. But
right.
I think with DeMeco, if you think about like Daniel Jones this year, a lot of the leaps that Daniel Jones made this year, like no matter what he ends up being as a quarterback, he was certainly a better quarterback this year than he had been. A lot of it was just on the judgment side of things and the process side of things, making the safer decisions, being careful with the ball. And I think a lot of that mindset is you worry when if it's a defensive coach that a defensive coach is going to start getting a guy to be too conservative. I don't think DeMeco's going to be that way because, again, I think he really is a student of the game and has spent a lot of time watching Kyle Shanahan, spent a lot of time talking to Gary Kubiak and then Matt Schaub while he was quarterback. And I think he'll approach the mental side of things well. There's a story about him from this year, and they told it during I can't remember if it was the last regular season or the first preseason game, but Lenore, their one cornerback, has been the guy getting kind of picked on this year with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. And they told a story about how DeMeco had talked to Lenore and said, hey, listen, you can't look at this as you getting picked on. You got to look at it as opportunities because they're throwing at you. You're going to have opportunities for picks. And then in that wild card game, he had a pick in the second half. And they highlighted Lenore, and he went running over and hugged DeMeco. And I think it was just a good anecdote about DeMeco's understanding of the psychology of players and understanding the mental challenges that guys have. And I think in a lot of ways, that's the most important thing you can teach a young quarterback is exactly how to deal with those mental challenges and obstacles. And he came in, I know I've told this story a couple times on air before, but he came in as a rookie, and I was in my 10th year in the NFL, and I didn't like rookies getting elevated to starting positions right away. I was kind of old school in that way. Right. So the first day they put him in as the starting inside linebacker, a middle linebacker, I was kind of being a jerk to him, and and he was having a hard time spitting the play call out because we had a lot of stuff going on, and Richard Smith, the defensive coordinator, I'm sure screwed it up getting into him or something. So I yelled at him. I was like, get the bleeping call out. And he
you can
honestly,
cuss, by the way. You can cuss, by the way. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah. And he kind of just looked at me, and it was funny. It was he just kind of with his eyes and his voice just calmed me down without being
oh, wow.
disrespectful or anything. Yeah, like a lion tamer. It was kind of and then from that moment on, I mean, his rookie year, his defensive rookie of the year, he was just all over the place. He was just flying around all over the field, all over the place. I think he has a genuine understanding of football players and just how to talk to them, how to command respect. If you listen to his players talk about, how he gets them to play so physical and what he does for them motivationally, they say all the right things about look, he's a super awesome guy, but he holds us to a high standard. I think he's got high expectations, and and he's gonna let you know when you let him down. And it's just, you guys know that's it's that balance. It's hard to find in coaching, teaching, parenting. It's balancing that love and discipline is a hard thing to do, and I think he just has that knack for it.
And that's a good thing because if he doesn't have, like you said, the coaching, that discipline, that respect from other people, then nobody's going to listen to him. Like, there's no point.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I'm a firm believer that towards the end of David Culley's tenure here with the Texans, he didn't have any of that, and so that's why I remember when we got David Culley, and I'm segueing into that because from what you're saying is the complete opposite of what we had. I just didn't take. It was the first coach that in my mind that I'm thinking I don't take this guy seriously. Like I just did it as a coach. Like I just couldn't. Like I saw him like like people would ask me who's y'all's coach, and I was like, oh, David Culley. Like I couldn't remember. Like that's what it's gonna be. Unfortunately, like there's times where like, oh yeah, David Culley's gonna be like a guy that 10 years from now you're like, oh yeah, we had David Culley in our team. Like that's and it sucks because like you always wish that you have a coach that's gonna be good, but then you realize that didn't happen, and so it feels like like you said, he had the respect, he has the locker room, he has everything you need to be a successful head coach already. Like all those elements mixed in.
Yeah, and that's where if you look at the spectrum, I would say David Culley, it was just such a bad fit in so many ways, and it's just I'd love to hear the real story of exactly how that happened. It's
gonna be a 30 for 30 for the Texans later on.
It was, guys, and it was so hard to explain to people outside the city unless you watched the games and like you saw him. And I feel bad because I don't want to pile on the guy because he seems like a decent dude, but some of the basic football things, like the guy's been an offensive coach for decades in the NFL, and we've got him at the end of the season like admitting that he just realized that sometimes going up tempo is a good way to get some energy into an offense or to rev an offense up. Like how is that possible?
I was picturing the media relations guy telling him, "Hey, that we don't say that." Like,
everybody in the back is like, "What?
What are you doing? What?" He said, "What?"
Then Lovey was like, "Lovey." Oh God.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying Lovey, but Lovey, I was like, okay, at least with Lovey, okay, this is a football coach, and he conducted himself like an NFL head football coach. Mm-hmm. I felt like some of the things were antiquated, and then it's just obviously it was an imperfect hire from the entire process. But there wasn't that juice that I think you need right now on this team, and that's where DeMeco, I think, just has, for lack of a better word, I think he's got juice. I think there's an energy and kind of a level of urgency that he brings to the situation that is what the team needs. And
right.
And like I've tried to separate, like I told you, I've tried to separate my personal feelings about this as much as possible. Right. When I look at those three candidates that I like the most, like DeMeco just strikes me as the guy that's a head coach. He's an NFL head coach.
Yeah. Do you think that another coach that we didn't name, but it's there as like an option? Do you think that the Texans would be giving too much draft capital for Sean Payton if that's the case?
I think the draft capital makes sense. I get it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to, and part of it is just I've kind of soured on Sean Payton. There's something about him leaking that whatever he said to Colin Cowherd about sensing dysfunction, even if it's true, like I don't like the guy leaking it to Colin Cowherd and kind of just making it easier for everybody to pile on the Houston Texans. Right. And I feel like it's unprofessional. So that part of it just soured me on it, and I feel like we're kind of just being used as leverage here.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
If you could have him without the draft capital stuff, if you could just hire him straight up instead of all the other candidates, would you?
Not right now. I don't think. I don't know if it's just because I'm PO'd about the league. I came from coaches. Tom Coughlin and Dom Capers were like old school NFL where if somebody leaked something to somebody, it was like a big deal. Like those guys didn't have cozy relationships with Adam Schefter and Colin Cowherd.
With the media, like they were too close to the, I see what you're saying.
I'm media now, and I'm like careful. Like I don't like guys to tell me stuff because I'm like I don't want you to get in trouble if I slip and say something or anything. Like just don't tell me too much. Or I feel like whenever players tell me stuff, I'm very, very careful about just like I don't want to use it for anything. But Peyton, there's something about the way he's working Coward that annoys the hell out of me. But that's me just being a dinosaur. That's the way. And it's not like he's a young guy, but that's the way business is conducted these days.
Yeah, I can't. I listen to Colin Cowherd sometimes, and I'm like, I feel like I'm listening to it almost sounds like, I'm gonna use an old reference for my friends here, like almost like Johnny Carson in a way, 'cause the way he talks into the microphone. He's like, all right, you see that the Texans are looking for a head coach, kind of a thing. I was like, oh, shut up, Colin. Like, it just gets to me, like, I can't. And anyway, but nonetheless, man, no, I know you got to go in a little bit, Seth. I really do appreciate, you coming on the show. Like, it was so informative. I just felt like I wasn't even interviewing. I just felt like I was just talking to somebody about football and stuff like that.
I was listening to your show. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. No. We meant it in the coolest way, because it's like, oh man, I'm like listening. I'm like taking in all this information too, because a lot of it is just like, man, this is how I feel. Like I knew that Sean Payton is an option out there, yes, but like I didn't feel so secure on it, because the draft capital for me, number one, but then like you said, it does feel like we're being used for leverage.
Yeah,
it feels like we're being used for leverage to go to Denver or something, or to get something more from Denver. That's just my opinion. And I think
I'm glad you put it that way though, because I think I'm coming to that realization. It's that it is a relationship. Like hiring a head coach. I feel like it's kind of like getting into a relationship with a romantic partner, in that you can't overthink it. Like, if you start checking boxes too much, like, yes, there's certain things that are deal breakers,
red flags or whatever. Yeah.
You got too much of a criminal record for me. Like, I can't do up to a certain level.
4 cats though? 4 cats?
Yeah. But people that kind of like date people based on like, okay, they've got to be like this and this and this, and they always end up in bad relationships because there's just not that feel. But it's a very artificial like dating scenario here where you're interviewing people. But there is a feel element to it, I think, where the owner, the GM, the coach have to share some same philosophies, hopefully not see eye to eye on some things, because the old saying, if you agree on everything, then one of you isn't needed. Like, you want to have guys cover each other's blind spots. But there's a feel element to it, and it's just obviously not a science. If it were a science, it wouldn't be like a 80% miss rate on coaches.
Exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. Let me put your Twitter handle on. What's that, Rios?
Not just that, but having some new blood out there also. Like, you don't want a guy that's set in his ways. Also, like some of these older coaches, like Logan, for example, set in the Tampa too. Like, you don't have to person for it.
You don't want coaches to give you the same thing that the old coach gave you, either, right? So you want to evolve. You want to change things around. That's why I'm so fixated on an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Just because I'm so tired of the football we've been watching the past couple of years, but.
I get it. I know. I get it. You're right. The offensive coordinator selection is huge. That is a very big one, and would be really eager to hear both Gannon or DeMeco's plan, obviously.
Hey, this weekend though, you get DeMeco versus Shane and Gannon, so that's going to be fun.
It's going to be I'm really intrigued by that matchup. I mean, it's going to be a boring game as far as, I don't think there's going to be fireworks, but it's going to be...
It's the battle of the Texans head coaches.
Yeah, I know. Well,
winner gets the position.
I think it'll be boring in terms of, if you want a game that's 35-31 or something, it's not going to be that. But, I feel kind of like that Cowboys game, the dam broke sometime in the third quarter where the 49ers just finally had that 90-yard drive and kind of imposed their will. I think it's going to be that kind of a game.
I was actually texting the guys when I was watching that game, and I was like, this game is so boring. Why am I watching this?
All right, so if you want to follow Seth Payne, this is his Twitter handle right here, at Seth C. Payne. Check out the morning show, Sports Radio 610. Seth is hilarious. I'm a big fan of all his analogies that he makes on that show. It's just hilarious. I'm like, oh, he's great. But Seth, I know you got to go, but thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming to the show. We got to have you again, dude. Like we got to
Oh
have
yeah,
you again.
yeah. Invite me, man. This is fun. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man, coming on the show. I appreciate it, man. You take care of yourself. Have a good one, and thanks for joining us again.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, man. Oh, that was fun, wasn't it?
Right?
That was pretty cool. He's got very down to earth.
He's with the dating stuff, man.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I was like, wow.
I love when we have people who like know what they're talking about. Yeah. And we just listen. We're just like children.
I know. I'm like, I was hooked. I was like, what?
I was just like a sponge. I was like, he had some really good insights, like stuff I didn't really think about. I'm like, man.
I felt like I was learning something new. Like I was just like taking it in. Yeah, but that's the problem. Like that's my facial expression when I'm learning something new. I'm like let's think my ADD just kicked in. Like, so I felt like there were times when I'm looking at Seth Payne like,
never in your life make that face again, please.
Hey, man, that's my learning phase. That's my learning phase. What do you want me to do? I was like, It's like me trying to process information in my slow brain right now. Like that was me. That's me.
Monkey with symbols in his brain.
The Homer Simpson, yeah, like the.
Oh
man, Christ, yeah, that was good. That was good stuff. I that was pretty cool.
Definitely. The rest of stuff was great.
Yeah. Do you like my Johnny Carson impression? You even know who Johnny Carson is?
Of course I do.
No, I know you do.
Oh, I know. I don't.
Poppy, I know he doesn't know what Johnny Carson is.
Let me ask you guys this.
Changing the subject.
I know. Look at him segueing this from this.
Because I wasn't here on last week's. Oh no, was it Tuesday's show?
Shocking.
Get out of here.
No way.
I just wanted to say fuck the Cowboys.
We were playing on a weekly basis, sir.
But now I could just say it like with nobody talking shit because fuck them, they lost.
Anyone that follows me on social media, they saw the tirade I went on with the Cowboys. We've waited all year for that.
Who you guys got for
this weekend?
For this weekend, guys.
I'm gonna go with the Eagles on this one. Eagles. I think Eagles go to the Super Bowl, and I think Eagles for the NFC and for AFC. I'm going to look at the Bengals because right now Patrick Mahomes is hurt, and I don't think he's going to be 100%. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Bengals. So I think Bengals and Eagles.
He is playing though, right? Mahomes
is
playing,
but
right?
I think he's going to be very limited unless Mahomes like just balls out even while hurt. That's a whole nother level right there. I mean, because you're going to see a different side of him. Like
I can see that because he does like to scramble a lot, but he's also very good in the pocket. Like let's not forget.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Even if he was fully healthy, I still got the Bengals.
Really, even if he was fully healthy,
they've been
the Bengals look really solid against the Bills, but I feel like a lot of that was because the Bills
played terribly,
underperformed horribly. I think there was a stat that said like Allen only had like 8 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah. And
that was like the lowest of his career.
Josh, I got to tell you that I think the Bengals played a great game. I do. I just think that definitely. the Bills just completely underperformed.
Yeah, like that was the game that I was looking forward to actually,
right.
And
it should have been a lot more competitive than it was. But I really do think Josh Allen just completely regressed these last few weeks. Like I haven't seen Josh Allen. I don't think has been the Josh Allen that we've been, that we're used to. I think he's receded because he was getting passes deflected. He was getting on several occasions, not just once. Like he was getting passes deflected. He was like
the snow was pretty bad too.
I get it, yeah.
But Burrow was having no issue.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And
that's
so
the chip on the shoulder, that whole offside AFC Championship game, and then they were already selling Bills and Chiefs tickets like.
Yeah,
they don't poke the bear because they were playing with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to carry that momentum all the way to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
So out of the 4 teams, right? Thank the Lord, neither the Cowboys or Tampa Bay is in this Final Four. Thank God. Out of Bengals, Chiefs, 49ers, and Eagles, is anybody you guys are rooting for? Or somebody you guys are rooting against?
I think I really do want the Eagles to win, not because I care about Philadelphia or anything. That's not the point. I just like Jalen Hurts because H-Town, baby. Ace
Yeah,
turn.
Jalen Hurts. I feel like that's
That's it.
the only.
I want Jalen to win it. That's the only reason why.
The thing is, like, Philly fans are
Annoying.
not the best. uh, Same with the Bills. Like, I kind of wanted the Bills to go far, but I know their fans could get a little crazy. I feel like the 49ers are a bit like they're scary, but I feel like that will be. I feel like the 49ers and the Chiefs will be the boring picks. So obviously, Mahomes is that guy, but I wouldn't be opposed to a Bengals Eagles Super Bowl. Like, I feel like that would be like the most entertaining matchup out of all of the ones that we can get.
Yeah.
I would love for Burrow to actually get it after coming up short last time.
Same.
But
Same.
I don't know, man. Like, can the Bengals beat like the 49ers? Like, if the 49ers beat the Eagles, can the Bengals actually overcome the 49ers, dude? Because
I think they can because they're going to the quarterbacks. We saw
It's going
this.
to be a quarterback. Yeah, you're right.
It's 49ers Super Bowl. What was the difference? The quarterbacks. Mahomes didn't play that great. He didn't play a great game until the fourth quarter. The 49ers control the game for the first three quarters, and the fourth, you need Jimmy G to take over, and I don't see Purdy, lighting it up on the big stage like that. Not in the fourth.
I don't either.
Dude, can we talk about Purdy? What if he does, though? What if he does?
That'd be amazing.
People have been doubting him the whole time.
Right.
Every single start, people have been doubting. Oh, this is where he slips. This is where the defense lets him down. This is where he shows his true colors. He's been. I'm not saying he's been like
solid.
taking over games.
Yeah, he's been solid.
He's been solid. He's been pretty good. Like, I kept thinking to myself, because the Dallas defense has been pretty good this season. I thought they were going to figure him out, and that didn't happen.
And there were moments where I felt like the Dallas defensive line were actually like putting a lot of pressure on him.
Right.
But he was still making throws and he was still making them.
I
think he's just having fun, man. He's just playing that backyard football stuff. He's just having fun.
And Dak made all my wishes come true.
Dak Prescott played pretty bad.
Dude, and like,
I appreciate it, buddy.
That last play, man. Everybody's been talking about the last play. I have no idea what was going on.
Yeah, Zeke under center, and then you throw it to your like third best receiver on triple coverage.
Yeah, like they had like
I was very confused too.
They had three guys on the right side, three guys on the left side, and you threw it to the one guy that just gets rocked. Yeah,
you got Zeke looking like an Ewok with the football. He gets lit up, and then Dak Prescott just someone's open down there. And
but that's the thing, nobody was. He only threw like 10 yards.
He threw it 10 yards, and that was it. Like, is that?
I thought they were gonna go like fully like Hail Mary type of thing.
See, and that's that Colts play against the Patriots where they had the kicker line up under center. Try to.
And see, I was talking today. Yeah, at work, I was talking to one of my assistants, and she was talking. I was telling her, like, I think that Dak Prescott signed up, for the quarterback position for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the thing. Like, honestly, I don't see Dak Prescott. If next year he does stuff like this, I don't see him coming back the year after as a Dallas QB.
Do you think Dallas should look to move on from Dak?
I think after next year.
Yeah, this season they can't just because of cap.
Yeah, I was gonna say they can't this year. I think after next year you might be able to start questioning, hey, is this gonna be the guy or not? I think they give him one more season.
Do we know their Carr's landing spot?
See, people keep saying the Texans. I don't see it.
I don't see it. I don't see any
I don't see that either.
Half decent quarterback coming to the Texans.
I could see the Colts or the Titans taking them. But or even maybe if they needed Carolina,
maybe Tampa Bay, because I don't know if we don't know if Brady's.
It's got to be a team that's looking for a veteran presence. You know what I mean? And I could see the Colts doing it. I could see the Titans. I could see those two teams for sure.
There's a lot of quarterbacks right now that they're on very not very happy situations that may want to look for a move. Like you got. Brady, who knows if he's going to come back. You got Rodgers, obviously. Derek Carr, they've moved on. I don't know if Jimmy G is going to come back next year for the
49ers. I don't think so. What is that? What was our guy telling us? Calvin, remember Rios during
He was saying that they possibly could trade Lance. Like, say his scenario was basically if the Texans hired DeMeco would probably trade for Trey Lance. Trade the number 12 pick for Trey Lance, or one of those picks.
Okay.
And I've never heard a scenario. I guess because he's familiar with Trey Lance. I was like, I don't know. Like,
doesn't excite me, right? Doesn't.
It doesn't move the needle.
I almost rather have that 12th pick and improve the roster somehow.
Because honestly, I'd rather keep the 12th pick and move up and get Quentin Johnson. I
like Quentin Johnson. That's a good receiver. That's a great receiver right there.
You would have to give up too much to move up a few spots, and from 12 to like 7 or 8. You would have to give up too much because all the QBs are going to be gone at that point. Most of the defensive guys are gone at that point. So you don't give up a whole lot. Maybe number 12 and like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and you can move up a couple spots.
There was a thing that stood out to me after speaking to Calvin this Saturday, and it was now I've never really had much of an issue with Bryce Young's size, because you said they're or the weight, because we said they could be brought up or whatever.
Yeah.
But he did make a point about the size or whatnot, but then it was the O-line. How we have a very, for lack of a better word, kind of mediocre, not bad, not very bad, but like a mediocre O-line at the best. It's not great, but it's not good at all, but it's mediocre. That's the best word. A mediocre O-line, right? I'm not talking about Titus. I'm not talking about Tunsil. I'm talking about the center
overall,
of it.
Overall, really. Yeah.
Overall, and
so center and right guard. Those are
right. And so that's what I'm looking at, because that's the part that worries me. If you're having a young quarterback and you are scrambling around, because that's one of the reasons why you want a mobile quarterback, so that he's able to kind of scramble around and extend some of those plays, right? But what happens if let's say they get Bryce? What happens if he's constantly scrambling,
getting lit up?
down?
Well, no. What happens if he keeps getting lit up, bro? That's
the problem. So do you remember when Deshaun Watson first started? He had a bunch of sacks on him that first year.
So many, man.
Yeah.
So many.
And then but then they ended up actually upgrading, or either that or he just improved his game or whatever it was. Now if you want to go back all the way to the beginning, David Carr, how many does he still hold the record for the most sacks in a season?
It's not even close.
What was it, 70 something?
It was
Jesus.
That man still hears footsteps in his dreams.
So every game he was like, okay, there's 7 more today.
Yeah, he was prepared for 7 more. Like it was bad. Like the Texans destroyed. Like I remember how we talked about the Colts, but like how the Colts destroyed Andrew Luck's career with not giving him no line. But then you realize the Texans did much worse with David Carr.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, gosh, man, it's a mess. Like I don't know. I don't see that. That's what I'm confused about. Like, that's what I'm worried. That's what it did get me worried a little bit. Like, can we help or support even if it's C.J. Stroud, Bryce, or C.J.? Can we support a young quarterback with the O-line that we have, though?
We can, because you can upgrade the center and right guard positions in free agency.
Yeah,
get some solid guys. And like with those two guys, they're more pocket. They're not trying to run the ball. They're pocket passers. He's not Kyle.
Right. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. If you're pocket passer, you have to have a good O-line, right?
Yeah, but he's not trying to scramble either. He's smart. He'll throw the ball away. He'll run out of bounds. He's not trying to get extra yardage. He knows he's not the biggest guy.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is like
is elite. He gets rid of the ball quick, and if it's not there, he's just gonna just run out of bounds or throw it away or throw it into the ground. He has very elite pocket awareness. And C.J. Stroud, same way, he operates in the pocket. He's had all day to throw the ball, but that's something that's why I have Bryce over CJ, just because of that pocket awareness.
Yeah.
Because this past season, Bryce is running for his life.
Right.
CJ had all day to throw the ball until to the college playoffs, and at that point he proved he can make plays with his feet. But I mean,
if needed, right?
Bryce, not as a first option type of thing.
Yeah, Bryce did it all year.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see how the league is going to shape up in the next couple of years.
Oh,
with all these quarterbacks moving places, Lamar is another one.
Oh yeah, that's I forgot about Lamar. You got it. He's going to be another one, right? Do y'all think he goes back to the Ravens?
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, I think Vegas has odds of him staying with the Ravens. But I don't want him to. Like I want the league to I want a shakeup. I want a big shakeup. Like Derek Carr is gonna go somewhere. We'll see where Brady ends up. Dak could possibly get moved after next year. Like
Not even. It might be this year.
it could be. Like I hope Dallas stays with them for the next 10 years. But
Knowing Jerry Jones, I think that loss put a sour taste in his mouth. I wouldn't be surprised he, trying to unload Dak and go for Aaron Rodgers or Brady. Cap be damned.
It'd be funny if he's like, you know what, Lamar, get over here, Lamar. We're gonna need you in that number 8 jersey. Aikman, give it up. Like I don't want to. No.
It's fun.
Yeah. And then after Allen's playoff bust, I guess you could argue maybe the Bills don't put as much confidence on him moving forward. You don't ever know.
I think it's too early for him.
No, I mean the Bills is one of those franchise dude where like nothing they do surprises me.
I think with them they got to upgrade their running game. You can't have him be a rusher.
Yeah,
It's their Achilles heel because basically if it's not him, it's going to Diggs, and you take those two away. What do you got?
They become a very two-dimensional team. You're right. I think they do need a straight up running back. They need somebody at running back for sure because they've become a two-dimensional team where, like you said, if it's either Josh Allen running for the ball or it's either Diggs. That's it.
We have the perfect running back. His name is Rex Burkhead. He's amazing.
Yeah, come get him, number 28.
You can have him for free, honestly.
And the half-eaten sandwich we still have from the David Johnson trade. It's in a museum somewhere in the NRG.
Oh Jesus, man! I am like I'm saying, I'm excited to see how the league shapes up in the next couple of years, man. I think it's gonna be fun, and I hope that the Texans obviously are part of that shakeup, and we can actually move some pieces around, get better. I don't think it's gonna happen, but hey, I have to be hopeful, man.
Give him years. Let's give him like 5 years and see what happens. Towards the end of let's say if we get Bryce or even CJ towards the end of their rookie contract, that's when I feel like that's when you should be able to see a big change with the team.
Yeah, I would say year 3.
Like year 3 of the rookie contract, you're gonna start seeing, because at that point it's like, let's say if you're as a rookie and you're balling out and you're actually doing what you're supposed to, you're even exceeding expectations, whatever. You're like what that team wanted you to be and what the fans wanted you to be. Let's say you're doing that. Well, by the time that your rookie contract is over, like if your team has not given you the resources that you need to make you successful, do you really want to go back with that team? Or do you want to look elsewhere? You see what I'm saying?
Well, so depends what the options are. Yeah, depends what the options are.
Not just that, it's to build around a rookie contract. Cause I looked at some report, like all these QBs are making the highest paid QBs in the league. They haven't won a Super Bowl in a while.
Yeah.
Think about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
What was the other guy? Cam Newton when he was one of the highest paid QBs. Deshaun Watson.
Whatever happened to Cam Newton?
In a Super Bowl, like.
But what if we build the park outside? Do you think that's gonna make it go faster?
For the 9th time, yes. Use some of that cap money that you used for Rex Burkhead.
Whatever happened to Cam Newton though? For real.
Well, now like the highest paid QBs, they haven't won Super Bowl once they got their big money deals. Like they all were on rookie deals, or they're on like reduced salaries like Brady. Like Brady's the exception to the rule because he took pay cuts because he's married to a millionaire Brazilian supermodel.
Dude, what? No, but dude, he's the smartest freaking quarterback there is.
Yeah.
Like obviously, take a pay cut. Take the pay cut. You're already a millionaire.
You can make it up in endorsements, like.
Yeah, like the more Super Bowls you win, the more you're gonna get paid anyway.
Don't Joe Flacco it? We all know what happened there,
right?
Dude.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
We calling it?
Yeah, let's call it a night. I got things to do. I don't know about y'all, but I got things to do.
Today's Mr.
Tuesday.
Busy over here.
I know, I'm very busy. But I'm so busy that I won't even be at Saturday's live Saturday night with you guys.
Good.
This Saturday. I won't be in. I'll be at the WWE Royal Rumble in San Antonio.
Are you going to be in the Hell in the Cell?
No. But
where are you guys sitting? Are you guys?
You know what? I don't know the seats, but I know they're decent seats. I didn't pay for them.
Are they going to throw you off the cage?
That'd be
If
cool.
they are, I'm gonna watch.
That'd be cool. I would take it, like just like Mick Foley did back in '97 and King of the
Oh,
Ring.
you could never. You would
I could
actually
never.
die.
I
You would have
I
a
would
heart
not get
attack.
up
You would have a heart attack
midway.
On the way
halfway
up.
down.
Midway down, just not
Well,
wake up.
actually, no. You wouldn't even be able to climb up to the cage.
No, just get tired. Of,
You
one
can-
arm up, just losing breath, like if I had just walked 10
He's
feet.
between the ropes and just dies.
Just pass out. Just pass out. Yeah. No, it's gonna be fun.
If you guys were in the Royal Rumble, how long do you think you guys could last in there?
I just go in and automatically over the rope.
It depends. What number am I? If I'm number 1, I give myself.
No,
comes in.
let's say you're in the middle of the pack, like 15 or whatever.
15.
Let's see.
What would be your strategy? Because I'm like literally running to the corner and just hugging the post.
No, go under the rope. Go under the rope. Wait outside for the guys to get, beat each other or whatever. Wait by the announcement table or whatever, and then like towards the end, go on in. Because people would have forgotten of you by then.
Yeah, but then you still lose because it's
No,
probably gonna be
if you go under the rope, it's over the top.
No, yeah, but like you go in, right? You go in after like the second to last person has been eliminated.
Yeah.
And then it's you and I don't know who's wrestling right now.
Braun Strowman or Roman Reigns.
Reigns or somebody. Like what the hell are you gonna do?
Yeah. No, here's what you do. Your strategy: as soon as you slide right in, you slide right out. Wait for everybody to beat themselves up. Wait till like Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns are in there, and just I don't know.
I know I'm going to lose. I'm
go for the knees.
I'm going to lose with some style. I'm going to do my best Rey Mysterio off the top rope.
He eliminates himself.
Hey, they'll remember me.
He jumps up the top rope and then falls over, and that's how he gets eliminated.
Like, I want to get like choke slam out the ring or something.
You want to get a concussion.
I want to be in the highlight reel afterwards.
For landing incorrectly. Hey, dude, did y'all see when Bad Bunny actually like wrestled?
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude was actually not bad. He got eliminated by Brock Lesnar in last year's Royal Rumble.
I mean,
he wasn't too bad. I mean, I know.
Actually, he didn't do a bad. He wasn't too bad. Like compared to like other celebrities that WWE has had before. Like I remember they had gosh, who was it? Even the guys from like Jackass, like they came in and they couldn't like sell correctly or whatever. It was just like it looked very stiff when they were taking a hit or whatever. But Bad Bunny actually looked like he landed correctly and stuff.
You remember when Donald Trump was in there?
Oh, when he took a punch by like Vince or whatever? Yeah. That was actually pretty funny.
Oh, I love that, man.
I love that. When they got the Stone Cold Stunner.
He got Stunner.
Oh, and it looked like he just fell asleep. Like he didn't sell it. Like he just like fell down.
Bro, so I was watching Rogan, and so they were talking about how Vince McMahon is like
crazy,
like his age, he's still jacked.
And
so like,
100%.
Yeah, well, of course. And so like, there's no denying that.
Steroids.
Yeah, like. And so, like, how he took the Stunner, the very last time he took the Stone Cold Stunner, like, the man, like you said, it looked like Trump when he took the Stunner, he just, like, dropped. Like, he just, like, dropped and fell forward, like, just like a dude just falling to his knees.
You remember when he busted both of his quads or whatever, where he went into the ring?
He was trying to jump in, and he had to sit there, and he just looked awkward, like, why is everybody's, like, looking down on him in the ring? And
dude, I bet he was in so much pain.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he was.
Imagine.
How do you do both of your quads?
Just by walking in the ring, dude. Like he just walked in and he busted both his quads, and then he's just like sitting there looking at people.
Steroid can't fix everything.
Yeah, man.
No, it cannot.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We're calling it. We'll see. The boys will see y'all Saturday, live Saturday night, presented by Let's Talk Sports.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Dan. What's up, Dan? Hope you.